Right now, in millions of American fridges, there's a tub of butter that's mostly water. I'm not exaggerating for effect. Whip up some oil, add water, dye it yellow, price it, shelf it, and people buy it thinking it's the real thing. And the funny part, that one isn't even the worst on this list. The butter aisle runs on a small con. Every package is built to win a 2-second glance and not 1 second more. Warm lighting, a little red barn, some green pasture, words like churned, pure, farm fresh, country. Here's the thing nobody tells you. None of those words mean anything. They're not regulated. The only part of the package that has to tell you the truth is the ingredient list on the back, which is exactly the part the front is trying to keep you from flipping over to read. So, we're going to flip it over. Today, 11 butter and butter brands worth thinking twice about before they land in your cart. One of them is around 70% water and still calls itself a spread with a straight face. Then we turn it around and go through the 5 that are actually worth your money, from a solid everyday block up to the best butter you can buy in this country right now. Everything I say here comes off the label, and since these companies quietly change their formulas, do me one favor. Check the back of the pack yourself before you buy. Okay, let's go. Quick thing before the countdown, because this'll change how you shop forever. You don't need to be a nutritionist. You need 3 questions. First one, does it say butter or does it say spread? To be sold as butter in the US, it has to be at least 80% milk fat. That's the line in the sand. The second a label says vegetable oil spread, instead, that means the fat dropped under the line and they poured something cheaper in to cover the gap. Usually oil, usually water. Second question, how long is the ingredient list? Real butter is 2 things, cream and salt, maybe 3 if it's cultured. If you're standing there reading a whole paragraph, whatever's in your hand, it stopped being butter a while ago. Third one, and this is my favorite, what's listed first? The law makes them rank ingredients by weight, heaviest first. So, if water or oil is sitting in that number 1 spot, that's the bulk of what you just paid for. Doesn't matter how pretty the front is. 3 questions, 3 seconds. Keep them in your back pocket because you're about to watch big, trusted, everyday names flunk all 3. Starting at 11. We'll start gentle. Number 11 is the mildest one here, and honestly the one that catches people off guard. Walmart's own great value. Cheap. Grade A stamp on the front, and give it credit, the plain stick is real butter. So why is it here? Because real butter and nothing to worry about aren't the same sentence. With any store brand, the first thing I go looking for is the RBST line. RBSTs, a synthetic growth hormone that pushes cows to make more milk than they naturally would. Europe banned it. So did Canada, Australia, the UK. Mostly over what it does to the animals. Still legal here though, so finding the no RBST promise is on you. And watch this trap. A store will print that pledge loud and proud on its milk, then just not put it on its butter. Same brand, same fridge, few feet apart, different rules. Nobody notices they switched. Then you've got the butter spread with canola oil, tubs, sitting right next to the real ones, in near identical packaging. Canola and coloring go in, the flavor goes flat, and you get this oily note that's got no business anywhere near toast. While the word butter quietly does all the lifting. 11's not a scam, it's just a reminder that even the honest pick needs a 3-second read. Number 10, challenge. Clean packaging, California dairy branding. Priced just under the premium stuff, so it feels like you outsmarted the shelf. And like great value, it passes. This is real butter. It's how it passes that bugs me. Challenge sits at exactly 80% milk fat, not 81, not 82. Right on the legal minimum, toes on the floor. That's not how the cow made it. That's a spreadsheet decision. And you can feel the spreadsheet the second it comes out of the fridge. It doesn't spread, it resists, then drags. That's what minimum fat and maximum water feel like under a knife. The taste does the same thing. Nothing wrong with it, nothing there either. It's the memory of butter without the part you actually wanted. The unsalted one's worse, because that's the one they aim at bakers. Butter's supposed to pull its weight in a cookie, a cake, a bit of pastry. Bake with the bare minimum stuff, and everything comes out flat. Forgettable. As a background player, fine. The second it's supposed to be the star of the plate, it's not going to show up for you. Minimum price, minimum product. And this is the last time on the avoid list I get to say real butter this easily. Number 9, breakstones. They've been making this in upstate New York since the 1800s, and for a long stretch, they had one thing nobody else did. It was one of the only certified kosher butters going. That's real, and it genuinely matters to the people who need it. But here's the catch. Kosher is about religious rules. It tells you nothing about the cows, the grass, or how the thing tastes. And breakstones is the first name here, where the label starts hiding something. Look at the unsalted block. It's pale, barely yellow at all. That's not nothing. Golden butter gets its color from beta-carotene in fresh grass, which means grass-fed cows. Nearly white is a quiet little tell that these cows were mostly on grain, and grain milk makes flatter, duller butter. Then there's the weird bit. You're eating unsalted butter, and somehow it tastes a little tangy. Where's that coming from? Down near the bottom of the list, natural flavors. No explanation, and they don't have to give one. The rules let them leave it vague. So you're not tasting cream doing cream things. You're tasting some mystery add-in your tongue never asked for, sitting on top of butter that wasn't impressive to begin with. In the kosher aisle, where it's basically alone, sure. Anywhere else, I can't find a reason to grab it. Number 8, Land O'Lakes, one of the biggest butter names in the country, and the last real butter entry before this whole list falls off a cliff. Fair's fair. The plain butter's fine. It does the job. The butter's not the problem. It's everything they park right next to it. One price tag over, wearing almost the exact same logo. Take the butter and canola blends. They fix a real annoyance, cold butter tearing your bread to pieces. And, yeah, the softness is nice. But the canola doing that job is usually GMO, derived and cleaned up with hexane, an industrial solvent they use in the extraction. Everyone agrees only trace amounts make it into the tub. That's not really the worry. The worry is there's no long-term research on what a little hexane every single day does to you over 10, 20 years. Nobody knows, and the label sure isn't bringing it up. Then there's the light blend, and this one's a list. Modified food starch, tapioca, maltodextrin, mono, and diglycerides, PGPR, sodium benzoate, potassium sorbate, natural flavor, xanthan gum, coloring. Remember, Rule 2, butter is 2 ingredients. Fewer calories sounds like a win until you ask the only question that matters. What did they pump into the space where the fat used to be? Fewer calories and better food aren't the same thing, and they're betting you won't stop to notice. After this one, we're done with real butter, because not one of the next 7 can legally use the word. Number 7, and now we're fully off real butter. I can't believe it's not butter. You almost have to respect the marketing, even while it's working against you. Put the word butter in big letters on the front, and that's the word your brain grabs. The "I can't believe it's not" part, that's basically fine print you read past. It's right there in plain sight and your eye still skips it. They know that. That's the whole play. The tub tells you it's got a rich buttery flavor and slots itself in as the thing you'd use anywhere you'd use butter, without ever quite saying it is butter. The old tubs used to list 45% vegetable oils right on the front. That number's since quietly walked off the packaging. What's left is mostly water and oils, and it tastes like mostly water and oils. The mouth feels off. The flavor's thin. There's no richness because there's no cream. There's nothing there to be rich. But the part that actually got serious was the cooking spray. People took the company to court over the 0 calories per spray claim. Here's how that works. The rules let a spray say 0 calories if 1 serving, and they define a serving as this tiny fraction of a second spritz. Comes in under 5 calories. Thing is, nobody sprays for a fraction of a second when they're actually cooking. You hold it down, and in the real world it adds up quick. The full bottle runs something like 700 calories and 80 grams of fat. So the argument was, 0 calorie is technically true and completely misleading at the same time. That spray is also the one product in the range with artificial preservatives, which is a funny look next to all the natural-sounding branding everywhere else. The name literally tells you it isn't butter. It's just counting on that not registering. Number 6. Parquet. If you were around for the TV ads back in the 70s and 80s, you might remember the bit. The tub of spread pipes up and insists it's butter. Cute, memorable. And it planted this idea in a whole generation that parquet was somehow the same as the real thing. It wasn't then. It isn't now. Parquet is built mostly from soybean oil, palm kernel oil, and palm oil, held together with the usual run of preservatives. The part-eyed flag is the flavoring, or really how little they'll tell you about it. It lists both natural and artificial flavors, and that's it. No specifics. Artificial flavoring often gets synthesized from petrochemical sources, meaning the starting material isn't even food. We don't get to know which compounds. And there's no big long-term study following what eating that stuff every day does to a person over the years. That's just not on the label. Then there's the Parquet squeeze bottle, liquid made from soybean oil and hydrogenated cottonseed oil. And cottonseed oil carries a wrinkle most vegetable oils don't. Cotton's a textile crop. It's not grown as food, and it's one of the most heavily pesticide-treated crops out there, sprayed with stuff developed for industrial use, not for anything meant to end up on your plate. Refining strips most of those residues out. Most. There's no guarantee it gets all of them, and no solid long-term study on what regularly eating cottonseed oil does to you. So every squeeze is a small unknown you're agreeing to. Real butter just doesn't come with that conversation attached. Number 5, Bromel and Brown. This is the one dressed up as the healthy choice. Made with real yogurt, zero trans fat, clean-looking design. Somebody trying to make a smarter swap could talk themselves into this one real easy. They shouldn't. Right there on the tub, in print, most people stroll right past. It says 35% vegetable oil spread. Not butter, not margarine, a spread. And that word does a lot of work. Butter needs at least 80% fat. Drop under that, and you can't legally claim butter or margarine. At 35% oil, Bromel and Brown isn't in shouting distance of either. Now, the yogurt, the thing they lead with on the front, it's about 10% of the formula. The first two ingredients, purified water and soybean oil. Yogurt shows up after those, then palm oil, then a string of additives. So, the one ingredient they built the whole front of the package around is sitting 10th in line, behind exactly the stuff a health-conscious shopper is trying to dodge. What you're really buying is a water and oil emulsion wearing health language like a costume. The front of the tub is doing all the work the actual product can't. Quick one while we're here. If this is useful so far, A-Like genuinely helps push it to more people who could use it. Back to it. Number 4, Smart Balance. This might be the boldest health pitch in the whole spread aisle. Heart-healthy fats, omega-3s, low trans fat. Reads like something a cardiologist cooked up in a lab to protect your heart. Then you actually look at it, and it gets a lot less impressive. Start with the omega-3 line. 400 milligrams, printed big on the front. Most people see that and picture the omega-3 in fish, DHA and EPA, the forms with decades of research behind them for your heart, your brain, inflammation, all of it. What's actually in the tub is ALA, plant-based omega-3. And those aren't the same thing. Your body can turn ALA into DHA and EPA, but it does it badly. Poor conversion rate. And 400 milligrams isn't moving your heart health in any measurable way, even if the conversion were perfect. You want omega-3s your heart actually uses? Chia seeds, hemp seeds, walnuts. More of the usable stuff, a fraction of the price, and no clever packaging required. Then there's what the thing even is. Buttery spread is a legal label for a yellow, butterish alternative, and it doesn't have to contain 1 drop of butter. Smart Balance is about 64% vegetable oils, which is under the 80% line, so it can't even call itself margarine. Not butter, not margarine, a spread. And all the healthy-sounding language wrapped around it, omega-3, heart-healthy, low trans fat, takes real nutrition ideas and uses them in a way that's technically defensible and, in practice, pretty misleading. Somebody buys this exactly because they think it's guarding their heart. And what's in the tub doesn't back that up. Number 3, Bluebonnet. This one started out honest. It was built as an affordable option, back when butter was a real luxury a lot of families couldn't stretch to. And for a while there, it was a legitimate margarine. That was a long time ago. Whatever the name means today, it's stuck on a 31% vegetable oil spread. Not margarine, not close to butter, not close to either one, really. The oils are soybean, palm kernel, palm. 3 separate artificial preservatives in the mix, plus artificial flavoring. But the history is the part most people don't know, and it's the part that tells you who you're dealing with. For decades, Bluebonnet ran on partially hydrogenated soybean oil, which is the main dietary source of industrial trans fats, the ones flat out linked to heart disease. Not for a couple years, for decades. It took the FDA forcing a reformulation across the entire food industry to get that out. And Bluebonnet changed its recipe when it was made to, not a day before. Now the brand goes around promoting that its spread has less fat and cholesterol than butter, which, sure, technically, what they skip over is what took the place of that fat. A combo of artificial preservatives that can mess with digestion. And insensitive people can even set off respiratory stuff. One of them, sodium benzoate, has shown up in research tied to more hyperactivity in kids. A parent grabbing Bluebonnet because it looks cheap and harmless probably isn't factoring that in. A brand that sold you a heart risk for decades and only quit when the law made it, that tells you exactly where quality sits on their list of priorities. Number 2. Country Crock. There's a warmth to this one, and it's on purpose. The little barn on the tub, the word churned, that whole implied American heritage grandma's kitchen feeling. The packaging makes you feel like you're buying something wholesome. The ingredients tell a completely different story. Start with the plant-based line, because this is where Country Crock's been catching heat from more than one direction. Shoppers filed a class action over the plant-based butter with olive oil. The gist of it, olive oil is the front of package selling point, the premium-sounding reason you'd pick it over something cheaper. Except olive oil is only a tiny slice of what's actually in there. The bulk is the cheap stuff. Soybean, canola, palm kernel, palm. Same exact setup on the avocado oil version. The fancy ingredient they name on the front is barely in the thing. You're paying for a premium oil that's mostly there for the label. On top of that, the American Butter Institute and the National Milk Producers Federation filed formal complaints with the FDA over Country Crock, slapping the word butter on products with 0 dairy in them. And their argument's hard to wave off. Butter's a dairy product, a blend of plant oils isn't, and calling it butter muddies what you're actually buying. Then there's the original Country Crock, the tub that's been in American fridges for generations. It's a 38% vegetable oil spread now, not margarine anymore. But here's the detail that really shows how this brand thinks about you. That 38% figure is printed in green ink on a green background. You'd have to be hunting for it to even find it. What your eye lands on is the barn and the word churned. Meanwhile, most of what's in the tub is water and oil. The packaging is easily the most carefully made thing in there. And number 1, the worst of the bunch, Imperial. Imperial's been around in one form or another for decades, and every version of it has been a letdown. The one on shelves now is about the clearest example you'll find of a brand that just stopped trying to make the thing it's supposed to be making. Imperial's sold as a 27% vegetable oil spread. Read that again? 27%. At 27% fat, this doesn't really hold up as a vegetable oil spread by any honest standard. It's nowhere near margarine. It's in a different zip code from butter. If there's a floor for what counts as a real food product in this category, Imperial's operating somewhere underneath it. And the price tells you everything before you read a single word on the label. $3.97 for a 45-ounce tub. But think about what 27% fat means for the rest of it. About 70% is purified water. No cream. No dairy of any kind. You're buying a water and oil mixture that's been emulsified and packaged up to look like something you'd spread on bread. And when you taste it, that gap between what it is and what it's pretending to be turns into something you can physically feel. It lands flat on your tongue, leaves this greasy film that coats your mouth and just won't clear. That's what happens when there's not enough fat to hold the oil and water together. The oil's got nothing to bind to, so it just sits there. Nothing in the formula does what real butter or even a halfway decent margarine would do. It tastes like a thing that costs $3.97 for 45 ounces, because that is precisely what it is. And look, tight budgets are real, and people are going to keep reaching for this. And I'm not going to pretend that's a crime. But now you know what that price actually buys you. Mostly water, with a label doing everything it can to imply otherwise. That's the avoid list. 11 names that count on you not flipping the tub over. Now, let's flip it, because some brands do this right, and the difference is night and day. Here are the 5 that actually earned it. All right, deep breath. We're out of the swamp. Everything from here on is real butter, real ingredients, real reasons to spend the extra dollar. And you're going to notice something as we go. The good ones barely say anything on the front. No health claims, no cartoon barn, no omega-3 badge. They don't need the packaging to do the talking because the stuff inside does it for them. Funny how that works. Best option, number 5, Vermont Creamery. If you've never had cultured butter before, this is the one that resets what you think butter can even taste like. It's a European-style cultured butter, and the way they make it is just fundamentally different from everything on the avoid list. Here's what cultured actually means. Before they churn it, they let the fresh cream ferment. Live bacterial cultures go in, and it sits overnight. While it sits, the bacteria turn the lactose into lactic acid, and that builds a depth of flavor you cannot fake with an additive or a shortcut. What comes out tastes like butter, and a really good yogurt got together. Savory, a little tangy in a way that's actually earned, and rich in a way you clock immediately. The fat backs it up too, up to 86% milk fat, which is about as high as you'll find on a US shelf. The texture matches, velvety, coats your mouth, lingers in the good way. It's picked up real recognition too. The American Cheese Society, the Specialty Food Association, the World Dairy Expo. Bakers who try it tend not to wander back to anything else. It runs about $5.79 for an 8-ounce package, and the only reason it lands at $5 instead of higher is plain practicality. That intensity and fat content aren't right for every recipe, and the price makes daily use a tough sell. But when butter is the entire point of what you're making, nothing on this list beats it. Best option, number 4, Vital Farms. Most American butter hits that 80% milk fat floor and calls it a day. Vital Farms doesn't play it that way. Theirs lands between 83 and 85% milk fat, and that extra bit of fat shows up in everything it touches. Sourcing is where they really pull ahead. The cows are 90% grass-fed, and the breed choice is deliberate, mostly Jersey and Guernsey, which naturally give richer, higher fat cream than the Holsteins most big commercial dairies lean on. You end up with butter that's got this deep, natural golden color, and that color comes straight from the beta-carotene in the grass. No added colorants, no lab anything. Just what happens when cows eat what they're built to eat. Ingredient list, milk and salt. That's the whole thing. For baking, that higher fat and lower moisture actually shows up in the results. Cakes rise fuller, cookies crisp more evenly. And the butter flavor carries through to the finished thing in a way an 80% butter just can't manage. The honest catch is the price. An 8-ounce block runs around $4.99. And for daily toast or your morning eggs, that's a hard one to justify every single week. But for baking, where butter is the reason the recipe even exists, that's exactly where this one earns its keep. Best option, number 3, Plus Gras. And this one barely announces itself. Plain foil wrapper, no health claims, no celebrity, no story printed on the front. In a dairy aisle built entirely around grabbing your attention, this thing gets walked right past, over and over. Which is a genuine shame, because it's better than most of what's screaming for your eyes right next to it. Plus Gras was built for professional pastry chefs and restaurant kitchens, not for retail shelves. And the standard reflects that. 82% milk fat, which meets the European butter spec. The American Culinary Federation gave it their seal of approval back in 2009, and it's been a staple in serious kitchens ever since. It's in regular grocery stores now, And most home cooks have no clue it's sitting there. The plain butter does exactly what pro kitchens keep it around for. Mashed potatoes that taste like somebody actually thought about them. Pastry with better lamination. Sauces with more depth. But it's the spreadable version, the one with sea salt and olive oil, that I want you to look at. Not just for the taste, but for what it proves. After everything on that avoid list, the hexane-processed canola, the mono and diglycerides, the sodium benzoate, the xanthan gum, here's a butter spread with olive oil that has exactly 5 ingredients: cream, olive oil, salt, sea salt, and natural flavors. No solvents, no artificial preservatives, nothing padding out the space where fat's supposed to be. Every brand on the avoid list that crams a dozen additives into a blend is making a choice. Plus Gras made the other one, and the product's better for it. Best option, number 2, Tillamook. This is the one I'd point most people to for everyday use, and here's why. Tillamook's been a Pacific Northwest dairy institution since 1909, and the standard they hold across the whole range, ice cream, cheese, yogurt, butter, is consistent. No corners cut. The butter carries that all the way through. Minimum 81% milk fat in both the salted and unsalted. And the difference from the bare minimum stuff is obvious right away. It's extra creamy in a way that hints at good cheese without any of that sharp dairy edge. Spreads smooth, melts clean. The flavor is just what butter's supposed to taste like. No chemical tang, no weird undertone, no oiliness. Cream and salt, because that's literally the ingredient list. What makes it work so well as an everyday butter is where it sits on the fat spectrum. It's above that 80% floor, but it's not as intense as a full European-style butter. And that balance is the whole trick. It folds cleanly into a much wider range of recipes, without steamrolling the delicate stuff the way a richer cultured butter can. Real flavor, real lift, and it never takes over the dish. At around $5.96 a pound at the big retailers, it costs more than anything on the avoid list. But it will never once hand you a disappointing result. For everyday cooking and baking at home, this is the answer. And the best one, number 1, Kerrygold Pure Irish Butter. Honestly, when the conversation turns to which butter is actually worth buying, this is usually where it ends up, and it holds the top spot pretty much unanimously. Best tasting butter you can buy off a shelf in this country, and there's not really a serious argument against it. It starts with the sourcing, like it always does. Irish cows grazing on open pasture for up to 312 days a year. Ireland's climate makes that possible in a way most dairy regions just can't pull off. The grass grows nearly year-round, the land stays green, and the cows eat what they're actually built to eat. And that shows up in the butter before you even get the wrapper off. Minimum 82% milk fat, meeting the European standard, and this deep, natural golden yellow that needs no added beta-carotene, no lab color, nothing. That gold runs straight from the grass, through the milk, into the butter. You can literally see the sourcing before you taste it. And the taste is not like standard American butter. The difference hits you right away. There's a floral thing to it, a natural sweetness sitting just under the cream, a richness that somehow doesn't feel heavy or dense. It melts easy, folds into a dish without bullying it, and still has enough character that you notice it clearly when butter's the star of the plate. Here's the thing. Kerrygold proves that the entire avoid list refuses to admit. The spreadable version, soft, ready to go straight out of the fridge, has 2 ingredients, cream and salt. That's it. No emulsifiers, no preservatives, no chemical help. It pulls off the exact thing the other brands swore, up and down, needed a dozen additives, using cream and salt. And the flavored range is the same story. The cinnamon and sugar one is butter, brown sugar, cinnamon, salt, a little lemon juice concentrate, and nutmeg. Real ingredients, a formula they'll actually show you, a result that backs up the reputation. Every brand on the avoid list knows a clean, honest product is doable. They're choosing margin over it. Kerrygold chose the other way. That's the whole reason it's sitting at the top. If you made it all the way here, genuinely helps push this to the people who need to see it before their next grocery run. So, quick recap on what the 5 best all have in common. Not one of them needs artificial flavors, synthetic preservatives, or chemically processed oils to make something worth buying. They need good milk from well-fed cows, and a process that doesn't disrespect the ingredient. That's it. That's the whole secret. And the brands on the avoid list, they know this too. That's the part that gets me. They're not failing to reach quality. They're deciding not to bother chasing it. So next time you're standing in the butter aisle, you already know what 2 ingredients looks like. You know cream and salt is the bar. And you know that anything past those 2 words is worth a second look. And now you know exactly what that second look tends to turn up. One last thing before you go. If what's going on in the butter aisle threw you, I've got bad news about the olive oil shelf a few feet over. That industry's been running almost the exact same play for years, filling bottles, stamping them extra virgin, and betting the whole business on you not looking close enough to catch it. Some of the most trusted names on that shelf are not what the label says they are. That's the one you'll want to know about before you pour another drop. And that's exactly where we're going next.